What's up, guys and gals? It is your boy JU with Gold Mines, and some interesting developments today, actually. So apparently, shout out to Anna Aguilar from Supreme Boxing, who actually shot this information to me. But looks like we got Garcia, Danny Garcia, and Keith Thurman for March 4th, or March, we'll just say March of next year. I think it's March 4th. Yeah, March 4th, next year. So, first of all, good fight. I'm glad to hear that, you know, some unifications and stuff are happening. You know, I mean, at the end of the day, that's a fight that we want to see. After Danny Garcia announced his next opponent, which is what, Samuel Vargas, who I believe, I don't know. But anyways, everybody was livid. I mean, the internet went nuts. I mean, the memes were just, well, you know, they had the memes of him doing the speed bag with 2 cherries, and, you know, cherry picking this, and yeah, I don't know. All types of crap. I didn't want to go into it, but anyways, man, honestly, good fight. So that's one thing that I can say. I think one thing that I'm always, it's rare that you see this, but most times, even when there's a cherry pick opponent, at least fighters are acting like it's worth it. You know, they're at least trying to sell the fight. It's rare that you get a cherry pick, everybody knows it's a cherry pick, and then you plan another fight for next year, 6 months from now. I think that's a little interesting to me, right? You should focus on the opponent in front of you. Even if you got a tomato can in front of you, you know, it is boxing. At the end of the day, he could knock you out, and you're focused on Keith Thurman. A part of me feels like Danny Garcia and his team, maybe even Al Heyman, had to succumb to the pressure of the fans, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you know, somebody pointed out this, you know, everybody was talking about Danny Garcia and his cherry pick, and I remember I watched another guy, I think it was on Instagram, but he was like, everybody's calling it a cherry pick, and people throw that word around very, very often. And, but, you know, with that being said, he was also explaining Danny Garcia has a better resume than most people in the welterweight division, which I do kind of agree with. Now, I don't think it makes him dominant in the welterweight division by any means, just because he has a good resume. I mean, he had Peterson, who, you know, some people argue may have beat him. You know, he had Robert Guerrero, which is cool, B-level fighter, Mayweather leftover, if you really want to say that, you know. And who else? You got, obviously, Amir Khan. That was the first time I ever even heard of Danny Garcia. But from then, never a rematch or anything of that nature. So yeah, I mean, he has a good resume, but it's not like he's dominated everybody. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's not like when I think about Manny Pacquiao, when he was dominating, right? When he was in his prime, I mean, when he was dominating, he had a good resume with the Cottos, Margaritos, De La Hoyas, and not only did he have that good resume, but he was whooping ass with those names, you know. So just because you have a good resume doesn't make you great, but it does give you some legitimate arguments, right? And he does, in my opinion, have a better resume than Keith Thurman. Now, I digress. I don't even know where I left off at. But anyways, all I'm saying, but it is odd to me when a fighter is looking forward beyond his current opposition, right? But either way, hopefully he takes out, you know, his next opponent as he should, and he makes it to this Keith Thurman fight, and there's no drama, no car accidents, no pricing out of the fight, right? We're looking at 2 champions, and that's what people want to see right now, man. We want to see champions act like champions. I mean, everybody throws around the word diva, really, let's fucking call a spade a spade. These fighters are scared to lose their careers, and I get that. I understand where you're coming from, right? Because if you lose, once you're losing, allegedly or apparently, you're not a factor anymore. But I feel like that's only true because you guys are spurring that notion on. I take a look at the UFC, right? Because I'm a big UFC fan, just like I'm a big boxing fan. And with that being said, look at Conor McGregor. He lost a fight to Diaz. What did he do? He comes back, he wins a fight, right? No stipulations, different from the first fight to win his next fight. He promoted it right, and now he's back on top. And I think if boxers and boxing promoters, right, took a little bit of the playbook of Dana White and the UFC instead of taking the whole playbook of Mayweather, right, then cats wouldn't be so scared to lose a fight, because they'd know that they'd get that fight back. There'd be rematches, right? And we'd see wars like the Arturo Gattis and Wards and just rematches, and you'd be able to get your title back, or fans wouldn't judge you off a loss, right? They judge you off the type of individual and character you have. So that's what I think fans want to see. We want to see our fighters be fighters. We don't want to see them be businessmen. And a lot of people blame Mayweather, but we also forget that Mayweather, even though I'm not the biggest fan of his character, when he was in the limelight, which I believe when I say character, I mean he was being a character. Even though I'm not a fan of that, a lot of people forget, Pretty Boy Floyd, the young scrapper, and if you go on my Instagram, there's a couple clips that I put on there when he was young, man, when he was a young, hungry, aggressive, lion, ready to scrap, you know what I'm saying? And so, these guys aren't going through that. Mayweather, even though I still, he was a little bit protected at times, he still was a scrapper. He'd get out there, his promoters or whoever would choose a fight, he'd get out there and beat their ass, and that's it. You know what I mean? Now fighters are trying to be so pretty. I'm even watching heavyweights, and I'm not saying any names, but that are trying to look like Mayweathers, and it's like, man, you're in the heavyweight division, bro. If you don't go out there and bang heads really quick. But anyways, again, I digress. All I'm saying is we want to see these fights. We want to see the Danny Garcias and the Keith Thurmans. Just like we want to see the Canelos and the Gennady Golovkins, right? Or even the Canelos with anybody in the top 5 in his division. A real champ, you know what I mean? Or we want to see these rematches, right? Are you really better, or did you have a good night? Or did they have a bad night? That's the problem. Is that they're so scared to lose their business. And don't blame just the fighters, because it's you fans too who say if you don't have that O on your record, that you're not a good fighter. Like, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like, obviously some of the greats of all time have taken L's. You know what I mean? You're talking Muhammad Ali has L's on his record. Obviously Pacquiao has L's on his record, and let's be frank, even Mayweather has an L on his overall record, even though it was in the Olympics, right? He still took an L. Doesn't make him not a great fighter. So all I'm saying is, stop spurring that idea. Stop egging that on. You know what I'm saying? Because we want to see fighters be fighters. I respect Kell Brook, who recently took that L and said, hey, well, damn it, if I lose, at least I lost to Gennady Golovkin. I got an L on my record, but he did take a chance. Even Amir Khan, he took a really big chance, bigger than I believe Kell Brook did, maybe. Only in the sense that we all knew he was chinny, right? But he still stepped up. And he's an Al Haymon fighter who went and fought, a De La Hoya Golden Boy fighter, and for that risk, you know what I mean? But yeah, so anyways, we want to see these fights. Now, speaking of Kell Brook, if this unification goes down, now there's word, obviously, that Kell Brook is staying at 154, which I understand probably sounds like a good division for him. Real stacked. He probably has a lot of competition up there. But with that being said, if he were to come back down, I'd love to see him fight Keith Thurman. I think that'd be a good fight, because if Keith Thurman beats Danny Garcia, which at this moment in time I don't see any reason to believe that that he wouldn't. I think he's the harder puncher. I think he's slick enough to outmaneuver Danny Garcia. I think his footwork's better. I think Danny Garcia is persistent. He isn't a quitter, and I do really respect that about Danny Garcia. Even if he's been in a fight getting his ass beat, like Robert Guerrero was putting some work on him, and he stayed in that fight and pulled it out, I think. But he fights to the end. So, you know, not to take anything away from Danny Garcia, but I think, you know, Danny Garcia is in a higher division now. He's not playing with the 140s anymore. So, you know, with that being said, I think Keith Thurman takes that, and I'd love to see Keith Thurman fight Kell Brook. I think Kell Brook takes that fight. You know, again, shout out to Anna Aguilar from Supreme Boxing. I think she thinks different, but that's why I enjoy talking boxing with her, because, you know, we do have difference of opinions, just like Canelo and Golovkin and all that. But you know, I respect people that can have good, solid boxing talk and, you know, share opinions. At the end of the day, we're all just speculating, right? We can all talk about what attributes these fighters have and all this crazy stuff, but at the end of the day, we don't know until the fight happens who's really cracking, you know, and who's really got what. So you know, it's just like the Gennady and Canelo, man. I think Gennady devours Canelo personally. Shoot, I think Lemieux takes Canelo out. Not any, you know, nothing against Canelo, because I do think he has improved. I think he's a good fighter. He just doesn't challenge himself really, or they don't challenge him. And you know, with that being said, I believe, you know, but I do believe Kell Brook takes that fight. So anyways, that's a fantasy fight, right? You know, I just one thing I'd like to see. But anyways, you know, there's some good fights out there. Again, I'm just a big fan of watching these unification fights, man. Even if they don't turn out the greatest, I just appreciate what's really happening right now, you know, with even like Crawford, you know, and Postal. I thought that was cool. You know, unifying the belt. You know, we really want to see, again, Canelo, if he stopped hiding behind weight, I think, you know, we can get a good fight, man. And, you know, at the end of the day, I'm not even, that's a whole other video. I'd be talking way too long if I started talking Canelo and Golovkin right now, but it will come. And I will make my arguments, you know what I mean? But right now, I'm a little tired of talking about it, even though it hasn't been on camera. So, anyways, back to Danny Garcia, Keith Thurman. Good fight. I'm looking forward to that. You know, got 6 months, so I don't want to over-anticipate, but solid fight. Danny Garcia's obviously got to get through, you know, his next opponent in Vargas. And if I'm saying that wrong, I apologize. I don't even know who the hell he really is, but I think it's Vargas. And I'm assuming that Thurman would probably have a tune-up fight sometime between now and then. It only makes sense, you know. And, you know, we'll take it from there, man. I'll take all the unification fights we can get. So, at the end of the day, man, leave a comment, thoughts on the fight, who you think wins, why, or any other questions, comments, concerns, anything else you want to hear about, talk about, chop it up about, let me know, man. But other than that, it's your boy JU with Gold Mines, man. I'll talk to you guys soon, all right? Peace.